Hello class, this is Ralph Bejarano, and my lecture topic for this week is the Tang burial figures. You can see a few of them up there at the top. So the purpose of this lecture really is to inform you guys and give you guys some new information about the Tang burial figures, a little about what exactly they are, and a little bit about the history behind them, and the meaning behind them, and why they are put in tombs. And then I'm going to be able to provide a physical description in order to paint a picture in your guys's, for the audience, to paint a picture for the audience and really give you guys a good idea of what these burial figures looked like, and some of the colors that were used in them, stuff like that. And there's I have some pictures that also give you a good description of them, good idea. And then lastly, I'm just going to relate the Tang burial figures to some of the stuff in our class lectures and some of the stuff from the Louis book that we've read. So a little bit about the Tang burial figures. What exactly are they? The Tang burial figures are ceramic figures about 2 to 3 feet in height, and they are found in the tomb of Louis Tingshu. And Louis Tingshu was a general of the Zhongwu army and also the lieutenant of Henan and Hunan district and imperial privacy counselor. Louis Tingshu died in 1728 at the age of 22, and being that he was a general of the Zhongwu army and a lieutenant as well, it is said that a person of high wealth or rank, so someone like Tingshu, would have things of burial figures that take the form of things like farm implements, kitchen utensils, domesticated animals such as horses and camels, servants, priests, relatives, and monster-like figures that carried a purpose of warding off evil spirits. And these figures were put inside the tomb with a tomb occupant at all times. Next, what the importance behind these burial figures is, these burial figures really symbolize the Tang Empire's power and structure at this time, and really along the Silk Road, as they made what I would say onward rule west from where they started. They were kind of a wrecking force at points, but these figures, they were vividly embodied the power and structure of the Tang Empire, and they also were only allowed to see once by the living, and they were only allowed to be seen during the process of a funeral, where they would bring out the figures, people were allowed to see them, and then the figures were placed in the tomb with whoever was lying inside the tomb, and then meant to never be seen again. And then they were also always created with a purpose to serve and protect the tomb occupants. So a physical description to give you, on the right's a picture. That's actually a great picture, a great representation of how these burial figures are set up. There are 12 objects organized into 6 pairs of 2, and they all stand in that line like that. Usually all of them are tricolored with usually an amber, yellow, a green, and brown. Like I said, they're 2 to 3 feet tall ceramic figures, and they almost always resemble humans, animals, or a monster-like figure crossed between maybe a human and an animal. But a little bit about the setup, as you can see on the right, there's a great explanation of it. So the front 2, as you can see there, are what you would call these monster-like figures, burial figures that were made, and they are half human creatures with clownish grimaces usually, and you can see that they usually have spikes of some sort on their head, wings and hoofed legs. As you can see right there, they both have hooked legs on the front, and they both do have wings. And they're also all of those on the right in the picture are all in green, yellow, some sort of brown. Some are right there, just like they're said to be. And then, so after the two monsters in the front, and right behind them are two human-shaped ceramic figures that carry an appearance that resembles people from India. So it is non-Chinese people that resemble these human-shaped in the second row, and they are dressed like India, look like India, have Indian features to them. And then behind them, next in the middle, are two Chinese civil servants that stand arms forward and arms crossed and are said to be braced or prepared to do their one specific job, and that is to create and present a good case for the tomb occupant. In this case, it was Louis Tang, to the underworld judges, and for them to decide, after what goes on with their afterlife, where they place in their afterlife, stuff like that. And then after the third row, in the fourth row, there's two little grooms that just are kind of there, and their expression is they're completely overwhelmed by the magnificent beast in charge that comes behind them. And the two magnificent beasts, the first two are two horses that are about 3 feet high. One is cream colored, splashed with yellow and green, and the other one is completely brown. These horses are said to also resemble the strong, tall, muscular horses that were brought to the Tang Empire from Western civilizations. And then behind the two horses in the last row are two Bactrian camels, which mean they got two humps, and their heads are thrown back as if they're whining. So that's how they're set up. As you can see there, you can't see all the way through the back, but you can see the first couple rows right there, and that's a great picture to describe that. And then my notes, sorry. After that, so next is how they relate to the courses, our course lectures, and the Louis book. So the picture on the left is actually figure 3 from the Louis book, and the description there is, you can read the description. It is described as, you can see that it's a camel that has two humps. So it's a Bactrian camel. It's a Central Asian rider, so a non-Chinese rider, likely possibly from India, like described earlier. And it's also stated to be 3 colors, tricolored, just like the figures are said to be in the description that I gave you guys earlier. That green, yellow, and a little bit of that brown. But yeah, that's figure 3 out of the Louis book. It's right under the Tang Empire and foreign traders and protests section. So also how this relates to our class lectures. So the two horses of the burial in the burial figures that stand in row 5 together draw a representation between the Tang and their descendants, who are the Tang are descendants of a nomadic tribe that's very fond of horses, which if you read back or go back into the steppe people and the trans-ecological exchanges with their horses, how they domesticated horses and used them to trade. They use them to trade in Central Asia and get things like wheat. The steppe people were known to be nomadic. They traveled a long way a lot of the time. So also, so there's figure 3 on the left. And then also in the Lou book, sorry, I had to find it in my notes, I apologize. In the Lou book, there's said to be, in one of the first paragraphs in that part 1, in the Tang Empire section, this is a piece out of there. It's court records show that there are foreign envoys carrying tribute gifts to Shenyang, which is the Tang capital at the time before Luoyang. And then these figures are said to portray non-Chinese people, just like the figures that were found in Louis Tingshun's tomb. They resemble people from India. They have, like the ones from earlier, have Indian facial features, or dressed like people from India. And that is about all. I appreciate you guys listening and bearing with me. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you. Hope you have a good week.